All right, here's video number 2 for section 8.2. Now, you all know how to write the nth term rule when you're given the first term and the common difference, but that's not always going to be the case. So let's look at what we have if you only know one term and the common difference. So let's look at this example right here. So one term of the sequence is a sub 19 equals negative 45. So the 19th term is negative 45 with a common difference of negative 3. So we want to write a rule for the nth term, but we need to know the first term and d. So we need to know a term that was 18 before this. However, we can use this information to tell us something. We know that when n equals 19, that it's equal to negative 45. So we can still use the nth term formula to figure out what the first term is. So here's our nth term formula. We know that a to the n equals a1 plus n minus 1 d. So even though we don't know a1, we can use this formula to figure out a1. We know that when n equals 19, that a sub 19 is negative 45. So we can use this formula to solve for a1. So let's go ahead and write in what we know. We can substitute in 19 for n. We can also substitute in a19. We can substitute negative 45. And we know that our common difference is negative 3. So our first step is to substitute all these values we know into this general rule formula. So again, a19 means that n is 19. We know that a19 is negative 45, and we know that our common difference is negative 13. Now, all we've got is some simple algebra. We want to isolate a1. We do that, and we know it's equal to 9. Now, it's just like you did in the previous video. We know our common difference now, and we know what our first term is. Let's go ahead, plug that in. Now, this is exactly like you did last video. Write a rule for the nth term. Here's our general rule. Always write that first. Plug in the values that we need. A sub n is 9. Common difference is negative 3. Plug those in. We go ahead, distribute negative 3 to n. We get plus 9 plus 1, so we get negative 3n plus 12. Easy. So our rule is a to the n equals negative 3n plus 12. Now, I'm not too worried about graphing the 6 terms of the sequence, so we might talk about that in class a little bit. So don't worry about this last part. So what I want you guys to do right now, to test this out, I want you to do this problem. I want you to go through exactly the same steps that we just did. You know that a sub 12 equals 52. The common difference is 6. I want you to do the nth term rule. So a sub n equals, go ahead and write the rule out. Okay, just follow the same steps that we did before. Go ahead and write it in the text box that comes up, and then we'll get started on the next one. All right, so for the next one, what we're going to do is I'm going to look at this next example with you guys. So we've looked at problems where you've known the first term and you've known the common difference. Last time you knew the common difference, but you knew a term later on in the formula or the sequence. Here, you don't know the difference. You don't know the first term. All you know are 2 terms in the sequence. And we still want you to write an nth term rule. So here are the steps to do that. What you do first is we know that the 7th term in our sequence is 17, and the 26th term is 93. So that's all we know right now. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to write a system of equations using our general rule. So follow along with me here. We're going to go ahead and we know our general rule. Plug in what we know. So we don't know A1. We know 26, so we're writing our first equation for our 26 term. So this is going to be a sub 26 equals a1 plus 26 minus 1d. Our second equation is our general rule with 7 plugged in for n. Now, remember, we know what these values are. We know a26, we know a7. Okay, these are the two terms we know in our series. Now, it's just a system of equations. And remember, system just means more than one equations with two or more variables. So now let's go and substitute what we know. We'll put 93 for our 26th term and 17 for our 7th term. Now we've just got two equations with two variables. We can go ahead and in this one we can just subtract because we're using elimination. So 93 minus 17 is 76. 25d minus 60 is 19. Now we've just got 76 equals 19d. Let's go ahead and isolate d, and we get 4. 19 goes into 76 4 times. Now, we know that our common difference is 4. Now, this problem is exactly like the one we just did. You know one of your terms, and we know our common difference. So now, we just go ahead and we substitute this back into one of our equations, and we can isolate a1, so we know -7 is a1. Now, this system helped us solve for everything we didn't know. It got us our first term, and it got us our common difference. So our last step is to just write our general rule, substitute our values, and we get our a to the nth term rule. So our rule right here is a sub n equals 4n minus 11. Now, to check, we can verify this to make sure that our 7th term and our 26th term are, in fact, 17 and 93. We just plug back n into these equations. So remember, your steps here. Use the two terms you know to set up a system of equations. Solve those equations. Normally, elimination is going to work because you're always going to have a sub 1 here. So you always just substitute them. You get isolate d, plug d back into one of your equations to get a1. Now that you know d and a1, plug those into your general rule, and you get your nth term value. This is really simple stuff using very simple math. So don't try to overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Now, what I want you guys to do for this next problem, I want you guys to do the same exact thing for this problem. So, two terms, you know the 5th term and you know the 12th term. -43, -8. Go ahead, do the exact same steps that I just did. If you need to go back, watch the video again or see some of the steps again, go ahead and do that. Just go ahead. This is just one rule that you're writing in the box right now. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.